All right, everyone, now we have an Israeli proposal for a ceasefire deal in Gaza that would effectively suspend the fighting that's going on in Palestine right now, returning hostages to Israel, most of which probably come back tattered and in caskets, but, I mean, you've repatriated the remains. That's kind of diplomatically meaningful. Don't even, if somebody did survive, by now they've been victimized enough so that their brain has probably been completely shattered, so under the circumstances, I think I would rather have just been executed by Hamas instead of being returned alive. Definitely be on a pension, a disability pension for the rest of your life. This may or may not be a thing. Right? Biden came out the other day and was crowing about it. Oh, I'm helping to broker this here ceasefire deal that was not actually dreamed up by me. It was dreamed up by a third party. After having ignored several situations, and here's the rub, here's the real problem. Do you remember, months ago, Biden came out trying to be the big boy. He's got his balls up and he's hitching his suspenders. He's getting ready to take you out behind the woodshed. He told the Israelis, if you move into Rafah, that crosses a red line. They moved into Rafah, into the border region, in order to take control of the border outpost there. There was some scattered skirmishes. What did the Joe Biden administration do? Well, this isn't really crossing the red line. They're not invading Rafah or anything. They took over a border outpost. Yes, it's in Rafah, and we told them not to physically go there, but, it's all fine. We'll keep sending there. We'll make it kind of sort of conditional. Just don't go into Rafah at large. What did we have to report on a few days ago? Israeli tanks were roaming through the streets in the middle of Rafah City. Biden did nothing. Now all of a sudden he's acting like the big boy for having brokered a peace deal that he didn't actually broker at all, that may or may not actually go through, while dealing with a third-party entity that violated his own effective command to that state, which is effectively an arm of the United States, not to go into Rafah. And he's acting like everything will be hunky-dory. My hope is that the peace deal, ceasefire, whatever you want to call it, goes through. So the remains of the dead hostages, which is much of what you're going to get, they're repatriated. Israel is not shooting people. What I expect, though, is that under the circumstances, there are two problems. The first problem is that Netanyahu did promise the Israeli people that he would completely destroy Hamas's leadership. He will kill every Hamas leader. Is it physically possible? Maybe. I mean, it's a limited number of people in a small area, and the IDF is much more technologically sophisticated. Maybe. Maybe they can pull it off. It'll take a while, and it'll require a lot of civilian casualties, but I suppose it's possible. So point number one is that Netanyahu is not going to suspend operations there. It's not like the Israelis have said, okay, well, we got a ceasefire deal. We're leaving the Gaza Strip. We're just, we're going to up and leave now. That's not what he promised. So, and then number two is any antagonism violates the ceasefire deal. Hell, it doesn't even need to be Hamas or a trigger-happy IDF member. It could be a third-party saboteur that wants the fighting to continue. There are plenty of those in the world. A lot of money is made off of these conflicts. What reliable guarantee do any of us have that the ceasefire deal doesn't fall apart within the first week? None. And you're dealing with an Israel with a leadership that has to go gung-ho because it's already been promised. They've pledged to rout Hamas. And with Hamas, a non-state actor, kinda, sort of, that has a tendency not to really give a damn about holding to diplomatic agreements. Under the circumstances, I can't really see it holding long-term. The best you can hope for is that you go back to the seeming calm of the pre-Hamas paraglider invasion era. That is, you still have rocket attacks, you still have hostages, you still have terrorist acts, you still have random bombings, you still have targeted strikes and all these things, but it's more sporadic. Instead of it happening every day, it happens once or twice a week. That's calm by the standards of this region in the world, and people in the West should probably understand that. That's the seeming calm that you can return to with a ceasefire deal. It's about the best that you can hope for. Watching U.S. leadership, though, gloating about this when it hasn't been agreed upon, no party has signed on to it officially. Hamas said it reacted positively towards the news, but we don't 100% know exactly what they means. Could just be, oh, we're glad that the Israelis fronted a ceasefire deal. Now let's negotiate. And 2 months later, it's like, they're still at an impasse. Diplomatically speaking, these things don't happen instantaneously. There's no agreed upon deal. There's no reason to believe it'll be even upheld by one or both parties, or some third party. And Gaza will still be occupied. That is, you're still going to have a shit ton of refugees. By the way, they're not getting U.S. aid right now because apparently the U.S. military has been so debilitated by the Biden administration, they can't even build a floating pier in order to make it more efficient to ship aid into Gaza. Because you can't really, if you do it on foot, settlers will attack the aid convoy and destroy the aid, or Hamas will raid it and sell the aid, or starving groups of people will raid the convoy and potentially cause a live fire scenario. So it's a little bit difficult. They were trying to do airdrops, which is safer, but yeah, the Palestinians weren't very happy about having random loads of MREs dropped on their heads. I wonder why. I'm hopeful. I hope that it holds. I hope sanity is, well, not sanity, but something approaching it, is restored to the region. Am I particularly optimistic about the longer-term ramifications? No. Name a time when there's been a long-term peace within this region of the world. I'll wait. The only time there's peace there, and then again, simply a seeming calm, is when it's under the hands of some authoritarian third-party regime that runs an empire, like the British or something like that, or the Ottoman Turks. It's the only time that you have anything coming close to peace within this region. It always has to be a foreign party that's not Arab or Jewish. Otherwise, it's just constant civil war because there are people there that genuinely don't like each other. Even the more progressively minded individuals there, especially in Israel, in the end, you're losing relatives and shit like that. Your relative got taken by Hamas and raped by 100 people. You're in Palestine, 2 of your cousins and your brother all got splattered by an IDF bomb. And it creates bad blood. It becomes intergenerational. Ultimately, unless a third party takes over the whole region and locks it down real tight with military law, that's the only way that you can possibly attain something approaching peace within the region for any length of time. A ceasefire is good. I hope it's agreed upon. It would be wonderful. Fewer people will die, but it ain't going to hold long term. Maybe for some months. Maybe it holds for a couple of years, and then it happens all over again. It's been happening my entire lifetime. I'm 36. Doesn't matter how old any of you are, it's been happening for your entire lifetime as well. There's not a person practically in the world that remembers a time when this region wasn't engaged in some sort of bloody conflict, with brief moments in between of seeming calm. That's, again, Biden considers this to be a great win. Trump couldn't solve the problem. One of his first diplomatic acts was going there to Israel and trying to get talks between the Palestinian and Israeli leadership. Even he couldn't accomplish it, and he's a genius with foreign policy. He decided that Korea was easier. They said, this ain't going to work. I'll deal with the Abraham Accords, but I'm going to go meet with Kim Jong-un. And then he was called like a commie sympathizer for doing so. Interesting right-wing fascist, Donald, actually, when you come to think of it. That's about all. Peace out.